You're listening to Virtual for West with me, Tara McCarthy, and my co-host, Brittany Pettibone.
Today we're talking with Josephine. Josephine is the creator of the up-and-coming YouTube channel My Name is Josephine, which shares anti-politically correct views on feminism, Black Lives Matter, free speech, and more. Thank you so much for joining us, Josephine.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
My first question for you is, how do you feel about the way the media have been portraying Trump supporters as Nazis, etc. recently?
Well, I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's an easy way to make an argument when the person against you or the person that has an argument against you is a Nazi. And what's interesting is that a lot of the people that are getting called Nazis don't even like Nazis. It's like they are acting like there's some uprising of fascism in the United States when that's not really true. Trump hasn't said anything that's remotely close to white nationalism, that's remotely close to Nazism. So I just think it's easier to paint the conservative side or the Trump side as Nazis just so you can have an argument against them. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like if you call someone a Nazi, then their argument is invalid from then on. So basically you don't have to argue if you just call them, but like racist, of course, wore off and no one cares anymore. So they have to always up it,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's exactly true.
And the other thing is they think that because you're a Nazi, therefore they can shut down your freedom of speech, they can hit you or set stuff on fire,
It's
like somehow justified. It's okay.
Yeah, it's an easy way to find out that someone doesn't have an argument because they just end up with you're racist or you're a Nazi. It's just like, come on, man. Let's just remove that label and actually have a discussion. And then they realize they're just wrong. So in order to stop that from happening, they just say you're a Nazi. Everything you say that comes out of your mouth is just completely wrong. So
I often wonder what kind of discourse would be remaining if you were forbidden from insulting someone or labeling them during a debate. It would force you to actually bring an argument to the table. It'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had an argument with an SJW a couple weeks ago, and he just kept calling me a coon, which is basically the equivalent of a Nazi, white supremacist. Sorry. He kept calling me all these names, and I was like, okay, look, let's just remove the labeling, let's have a discussion and actually put down our arguments. And then after a while, he's like, oh, you're actually right. Mm-hmm. So when you separate the name callings, you realize either they don't have an argument or they're just too scared to realize they're wrong. So
yeah, exactly. So I know your YouTube channel is very anti-PC. Were you always anti-PC? And, if so, what motivated you to get involved in politics and, talking about social issues and actually start a YouTube channel?
I was always anti-PC, except I didn't really know there was a name for it. I didn't know there was a name for having dark humor and not really caring what you're saying. And I just started out, I think, have you guys heard of the Jordan Peterson controversy in Toronto? Yeah, so I went to that rally. It was actually my first time ever being to a rally. And then a lot of the people that were trying to have conversations, a lot of the white men that were trying to have conversations were getting dismissed because they're like, you're a cis white man, therefore you have no argument. So when I talked to the guy, I was like, oh my gosh, we have the same views, but you're dismissed because you're a white man. Mm-hmm. All right, well, I'm going to make my own YouTube and I'm going to tell you the exact same thing this cis white man is telling you, but it's going to come from a black woman. Hopefully you'll understand and listen and, remove the whole whiteness, argument from it and actually listen to me. So that is actually what motivated me.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, just for anyone who doesn't know, do you mind just giving a quick summary of the Jordan Peterson?
Oh, yes. He's a professor at University of Toronto, and he made some YouTube videos about transgenders and Bill C-16, which is, I think it's law now, actually. But at that time, it was a bill, and it proposed that, what was it? Transgender rights were the same as human rights, and non-binary individuals had the same rights as human rights or something. I mean, it was vague. It was still in the works. So it was kind of outrageous that people had a whole rally against him saying, it's kind of iffy. And then instantly it's like, you're a Nazi, you're a white supremacist. And it's like, oh my gosh, no, he said it's iffy. He doesn't understand it. It needs to be clear. And that's Peterson.
Yeah, from my understanding, I did actually interview Professor Jordan Peterson from my other channel, and the thing that he was concerned about is that they're basically making it so that they can fine you, and if you don't pay the fine, put you in prison. if you refuse to call someone by whatever of the 30 different gender pronouns they happen to decide that they want you to call them that day, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just ridiculous. Like, people can't operate like that.
Especially
Yeah.
because the population of non-binary people is so small. You can't expect the entire population to switch in a day and be able to understand, okay, I can't call you this. I can't. It's like it's a working progress. It doesn't happen just as once, and you just all at once, sorry. And you can't get angry just because people don't understand it or have questions. If anything, you should be inviting those questions so you can explain to me why I'm wrong. But instead of explaining, you're just calling names, and then it just becomes this whole, everyone's just angry at both sides when ultimately we just don't understand, or we don't think it should be law to police our language. So it was ridiculous. And he was threatened by U of T a couple times of being fired. And it's just his free speech is being threatened just because he made a video disagreeing with a certain bill. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
I know some people are even going after Trudeau now, aren't they? Who's like the ultimate feminist. But I saw this video. I remember them calling him like a white supremacist or something like that. And I was just like, wow, you just can't please these people.
I know. It's insane. The girl that actually called him the white supremacist who is Yusra Kogali, I actually see her a lot in Toronto.
Really?
She's from Toronto, yes. And she was at the Peterson rally, and she caused all this ruckus and yelling and shouting. She actually assaulted a couple people. And she went on Facebook that day and wrote how there were a bunch of Nazis and white supremacists at the event. And I personally messaged her and said, I was there. Why are you lying to all your followers? And this is why I disrespect Black Lives Matter in Toronto. Because it's like I saw firsthand what happened. And then on Facebook, she posts a different thing. And all her supporters are saying, oh my God, that's so sad. I feel so bad for you. And it's like, that's just wrong. And now she's calling Justin Trudeau a white supremacist, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's the last straw. She's done. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, even pretty radical people, I think, would be like, wait, hold on, he's like our biggest cheerleader, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
So how did you first get interested in politics? Do you have kind of a story, or is it more of a you've always been interested in politics kind of thing?
I've sort of always been interested in politics. I think just recently was when it became a big thing, obviously because of Trump. And I kind of like that. A lot more people are involved in the discussion. So that's really interesting. I mean, if I go to a restaurant, literally every other person is talking about politics. But I'm majoring in political science right now in school. So that's another reason why I'm kind of interested in it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow. Do you find a lot of your professors are like very like progressive in the sense that they're kind of pushing these agendas? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, really difficult.
I have to sit through classes of my professor calling Trump a white supremacist, and it's like, I'm not paying this much money for you to stand up here and talk about Trump. And they're obviously left. Their bias is showing, and it's like, I'm here to learn. Please just tell me what the stats are, what it is, and let's move on. I don't need your opinion. And what's really interesting is every time they make some kind of anti-Trump joke or anti-conservative joke, the entire class laughs and claps. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. We're training all these students to have so much hate towards this other side that really they don't deserve it. So they're far gone. My professors are far gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really dangerous to, kind of program people to hate other people just who disagree with them. Like nowadays, disagreeing with someone is hate speech, basically. So,
basically.
Everyone on the right it's hate speech. I'm curious if, I know you've said you're always anti-PC, so probably not. You were never a feminist, but why not? Like, what in particular made you say, oh, I would never be a feminist? Because so many women who are feminists will say, oh, it's just about equality, and that's it. But what made you see through that and never would want to identify?
What's actually interesting is just recently, or a year or two ago, is when I found out the wage gap was a myth. So I'm no longer a feminist because they're lying to everyone in schools, in everywhere you go, they're lying to you. There's an Audi commercial in the Super Bowl that said women don't have equal, exactly. And it's just everywhere you go, they're lying, or the rape culture in the West, they lie about that as well. I am a feminist in the sense that I do believe men and women should be equal in some respects. But the movement has just changed entirely. It doesn't matter if you think that you're a feminist because you believe in equality. That's just not what the movement is now, unfortunately. And you need to step out and tell people, okay, we need to change things around, or not even have the feminist movement. I mean, what they were fighting for in the 60s, what they were fighting for, we have it now. Exactly. So what really is there? It's non-issues like mansplaining and manspreading and BS like that. I don't know. It's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah. Well, it was just like a culture that was created of oppression, so people were looking for ways to be oppressed. And then with feminism, there were no problems, so they created the problems in order to solve them. But it was really just, they got down to such minute details. It was like, you guys are insane. But also like the hypocrisy of ignoring real problems, you know, against women, real oppression against women, like in the Middle East. They don't care. Or that's a real rape culture. They don't care. So it's just that hypocrisy too, where I would never identify with you if you can turn your cheek to this, but then act like mansplaining is such a huge issue. So, yeah, for sure.
What's your favorite aspect of the alternative media, and do you consider yourself to be a member of the alternative media?
I do consider myself to be a member. I think it has its ups and downs. Downs in the sense that you get to pick what you watch and you kind of live in this little bubble where you don't see other ideas. But it's a good thing because all these other ideas are available to you. So watching CNN, you only see one view. Like my parents always only watch CNN. I always watch CNN. And now it's like, I just don't trust them anymore. And now I can go to alternative media where I can pick who I listen to. So to make sure I don't get stuck in that little bubble, I make sure I listen to different points of views just so I can strengthen my own view as well. So it's very interesting. I think mainstream media is having their downfall. It's very cool.
Yeah, you mentioned you used to watch CNN. What made you start to distrust them? Was it like WikiLeaks and kind of getting exposed during the election cycle?
WikiLeaks and engaging in I hold them responsible for blaming Trump supporters or calling Trump supporters white supremacists. I'm not sure what his name is, Van Morrison or something. Right after Trump was elected, he said this is a white lash. It's white people going against. Like, I just think they're increasing the divide instead of just giving out the facts and how it is. You're creating more of a separation, and it's sad, it's ridiculous, and I cannot stand with them anymore.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. What would you say to those people who think, because I know a lot of people on the left, they say we believe in freedom of speech but not hate speech. What would you say to those people? Because I know like a lot of times they can define, like, hate speech really isn't a thing. It's quite subjective. So what would you say to those people? And do you think that like we should be allowed to just say anything and everything? It should all just be protected? Or do you have like limitations, or what do you think?
I actually don't have any limitations. I think free speech, it should include hate speech. It should include radical ideas. But that's just the way we get to the truth. You have to have radical, okay, and good ideas. And the good ones are the ones who are going to rise. If the radical ones are the good ones, those ones are going to rise, right? But we're not going to be able to find out what the true answer is if all opinions are suppressed. Then the only answers we'll come up with is SJW answers. And I really don't want to live in that world. And a lot of people do say, like, would you feel comfortable if someone came up to you and said the N-word? And I was like, I'd rather they tell me they're racist or whatever than for them to not say it. Like, I would rather know who the crazy people are than for them to hide it. I'd rather everyone say how they feel so I know how to interact with different people. And I just think the world should work that way. It's easier, and you can kind of, I don't know. It's just hate speech should be included, honestly.
Yeah. No, that's an awesome, actually, perspective. I 100% agree. And it's also, how are you going to know what the best argument is if you don't hear them all? You know,
exactly.
You need everything, you know, just to look at it in relation to other things. And yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah, I totally agree with the part where you're saying, like, well, in a way, it's like we're kind of all dancing around, trying not to offend each other. Such a waste of energy.
It's
we should just speak plainly, you know, that's how I feel anyway. But yeah, speaking about how do you deal with the harsh criticism from the left that I imagine you experience just for being a Black Trump supporter?
I'm actually not a Trump supporter, and I'm putting air quotes in that.
Fair enough.
Because I'm not a Trump supporter, not because I think he's a white supremacist or a Nazi or whatever. I think I would have voted for a third party. But a lot of people do label me as a Trump supporter and use that to harass me. And it's kind of ridiculous because it's like, it doesn't matter who I voted for. It doesn't matter who I support. You should look at me as an individual. And a lot of the insults that I get is coon or Uncle Tom or whatever. I'm a race traitor, and it's just, I don't understand why we all have to think as a group. Why can't we just have our own individual opinions? Why can't we all be treated as individuals instead of a group? Trump supporters is not the, Nazi KKK down south. A Trump supporter can be, a nice black man in a suit, or it can be anyone. So it's kind of ridiculous to generalize all of them together as racist white supremacists. It's really messed up, actually.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, that must be awful. But I mean, it just goes to show the fact that even you don't support Trump, and yet you get that much hate. It's almost like even worse, It's almost like it's not even about Trump. It's just they just want to hate someone. They want to have a reason for their difficulties in life. It's like, no, you're a Trump supporter, you suck, and blah blah blah. Screw you. And it's dismissive and annoying. I can't have an argument with anyone if they just keep labeling me as, a Trump supporter or a conservative or whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter. That doesn't change the argument. That doesn't change the facts.
That's funny. Because I was actually asking, what slurs do you get thrown at you for being a Trump supporter? But it's turned out that being a Trump supporter is the slur. So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. It is a slur now. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and sorry, but I assume that it's just that's most people who come on the show happen to be.
That's fine, so and it shouldn't. Sorry,
it's okay. No. I was just gonna say, what kind of political angle do you take, if you take any?
I'm more of a classical liberal, I think. But it's like I'm still discovering myself. I'm still trying to decide where I fit in, and that's why I kind of hate labels. And that's why I hate arguments being tied to labels. So you're conservatives, you have to be anti-PC. If you're liberal, you have to be, policing language. And it's like, I just hate those labels. I want to find where I fit in. And every day I'm learning new things. I'm finding where I fit in. And it's interesting for me. It's been an interesting road.
Yeah, but that's why it's so important to encourage, full, diversity of thought and opinion, and allow that. Because then that's kind of where we get the stereotype of all liberals want to police speech, because they, apply those labels, and they want to make it, well, at least, the loudest people on the left aren't for diversity of opinion. So that's what we think they all are. But yeah, you're absolutely right that we're all individuals, and you can't just know exactly who someone is just because they're a Trump supporter or not a Trump supporter. So absolutely. It's something interesting, I found out actually about you the other day is, I'm an identical twin. I know you're a twin as well, which is so cool. So does your twin, does she have the same political views as you? Are you both interested in politics, kind of doing the same thing? Are you really different? Or?
She's not as interested in politics as I am, but she actually has the exact same views as me because we were raised with the same mentality. We didn't have a name for it as anti-PC. It's that's just how our mentality was growing up. So she sees my videos and laughs, but she has no idea what's going on.
That's awesome though. Yeah. My twin sister and we're pretty different, but we're into all the same things. So she definitely likes politics, but she's just more withdrawn, so she doesn't really do much social media and stuff. Yeah, that's really awesome though. Yeah, will she ever come on a video with you, do you think?
Yes, she will. I'm trying to force her to. She will. She's a little scared, which is actually insane. There are some people at her school that know me. They've seen my videos, and because she's my identical twin, they've approached her and tried to kind of harass her and ask her questions. And she can't answer these questions because I'm the one studying politics and she's studying marketing. So she's a little hesitant, but I'm gonna make her do it. She has to.
Yeah, a lot of the twins I've met recently are the same as what I am, which is mirror twins. So it's the opposites. So I'm left-handed, my twin sister's right-handed. Are you guys the same, or are you mirror twins as well?
We're both right-handed.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just curious about that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I have no idea about any of the stuff, but it's interesting to look into. What are your aspirations after university? Do you have any, or are you not sure?
I would love to be a lawyer. That is my long-term goal. After my undergrad, I will be applying for law schools. But yeah, that's my long-term goal for now. My boyfriend, I think, is probably going to go into politics. So it's really interesting. We're kind of going into that kind of political arena. So hopefully it works out. We'll see.
Yeah, those are definitely like complementary jobs.
Yeah.
Do you know like what kind of lawyer you want to be yet, or would that come later on?
That comes later on. I know I don't want to do criminal law because I'm scared that one day I'm going to send someone to jail and they're going to come and kill me. But I'm not too sure yet, but I love the idea of being a lawyer and love the idea of, yeah, reading law. So I think I'll figure that out down the road in law school.
Oh, that's super awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people with law degrees, like Ann Coulter, Ben Shapiro, Mike Cernovich even, they've all got law degrees, and yet they are in media. So there are lots of things you can do with that kind of degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I'm curious what your opinion on the Black Lives Matter organization is.
In Toronto or in Canada, I think they are ridiculous and insane. Yusra Kogali saying Justin Trudeau is a white supremacist. Black Lives Matter as a whole, when they first started, I did support them in a sense that I was like, oh yeah, it's an activist movement. Sure, go ahead. You can do whatever you want. And then it started to take a turn. Their rhetoric became insane. It almost became a black supremacist group. Then it wasn't fighting for equality. It's like the feminism movement. Yeah, exactly. It starts out great and then it starts turning once you give someone power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So they started off great and then they took a turn. I think they are creating more of a divide, especially in Toronto. I mean, I don't even know why they exist in Toronto, but they're creating more of a divide. They have done some good things. There was some organization in Chicago that they created for gun safety. But then when they have so much influence in the media, instead of focusing on that, they focus on don't touch your hair, cultural appropriation, and all this BS. And it's like, oh my gosh, you can be doing great things. All the money you're raising, you can be doing amazing things for the Black community. There are Black Americans that are oppressed. I hate using that word. They ruined the word. Oppressed in certain communities, and they should be helping those people, but they're not. Helping them is telling them the truth that you need to go to school. You need to stop having kids outside of wedlock. You know what I mean? You need to stop the crime. But instead of doing that, they're pointing fingers and blaming white people, the white people that have done nothing to, cause that. So I think they're counterproductive and their rhetoric is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, we were just talking about how important it is to focus on personal responsibility before you start blaming or pointing the finger. And I totally agree with that, like across the board. We were talking about how women need to do that because, again, it's like it's considered to be like some kind of insult or something to say like, well, maybe this group of people need to take some responsibility for their actions. You're not allowed to say that.
Yeah, it's victim blaming, they call it. But
right.
But when you honestly remove racism, I put air quotes over everything. When you remove racism and every white person overnight is no longer racist, the Black community is still poor. So it's like, what are the tangible causes? What are the tangible solutions? They're not even focusing on that. They're focusing on non-issues. And that's like my biggest issue with them is that they're wasting time. They're making a lot of money off this. And I think they're just doing this for power. They're not doing this to help the community. They don't like the Black community. If they cared about the Black community, they'll be talking about the stats. They'll be saying 75% of Black Americans are born in a single mother household. They will be talking about these things, but they choose to ignore it. And it's just going to keep the Black community poor, and it sucks.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is just my opinion, but I do think that a lot more white people would be more inclined to support Black Lives Matter if, like, I just feel like they've been so polarized as time has gone on because we've seen so many acts of violence from them, like here in the U.S., like in Charlotte, it was insane.
Yeah.
So they don't want to support it because they feel like they're hated, so why would they want to support it, by this organization? So I know that it's very direct towards them, at least here in the U.S. So yeah, that's my opinion. If they just, wanted help from the white community and approached them like, kindly and like to be at peace.
Or let's
here.
do something constructive kind of
and,
thing,
like,
rather than burning down
together.
buildings kind of thing.
Yeah, work together.
Yeah, you can't expect someone to help you when you're blaming them for your problems. It's like, you hurt me, but I need you to help me to, raise me up. It's like, what? No, I never hurt you. Why would I ever do that? So it's creating a divide, and they're not even realizing it. And they keep saying we want white allies. Well, you're blaming them for your problems. Of course not. They're not going to help you until you realize, okay, maybe it's my fault. Maybe it's this fault. Maybe this is the issue. Maybe it's not individual white people. And then we will all come together. I honestly think the movement would have been way stronger if they didn't start it by pointing fingers at white people being racist towards blacks. I think it would have been way stronger. I think they would have raised way more money for the black community if they said, hey, let's all help each other, not it's all your fault, come help us. No, it's counterproductive.
Yeah, I would have to agree, for sure.
If you could hijack every billboard in America for 1 week, what message would you put up?
The N-word. I'm kidding. No.
Trigger.
I know, can you imagine every billboard? Oh my gosh, they'll literally be shaking. I would put grow up, get over it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, move on. Just one of those, either of those three.
That's actually great. That's what people need right now.
Yeah,
They
honestly.
need like the tough love. I agree there for sure. Take responsibility, or you're not oppressed, or it's your fault.
It's your fault.
Oh no, that's probably, those 3 words you probably.
I know, but like
most
sometimes I thought about it because I know like white women aren't considered as oppressed now. We're kind of the enemy because like over 50% of white women voted for Trump, like here in the U.S. But like back then, I sometimes wonder if I could have been like, well, I'm not able to I'm not able to find a publisher. This is so hard. Maybe I should like pull my oppression card and be like, oh, is it because I'm a woman? And go around, like make YouTube videos. Like, would it have made a difference? It almost would have. Yeah, it's just
the whole concept of white supremacy, in the sense that white people have more opportunities than blacks. It's funny because applying to law school, one of the questions was, are you a minority? Are your parents immigrants? And then I called them and I asked them, oh, does this help? They said, yeah, well, actually it helps if you're an immigrant. I was like, oh, so it's easier for me to get into law school if I'm an immigrant. Or applying for scholarships. There's so many scholarships for different countries in Africa. It's ridiculous. There's a Nigerian scholarship, there's a Ghanaian scholarship, and it's like there's so many more
Do we have any Swedish scholarships over there?
Probably not. But there's so many opportunities for Black Americans. There's so many opportunities for minorities. There's women's scholarships, but there's not men's scholarships. Like, it's crazy how many. And it's like, okay, so who really has the advantage? The minorities do a little.
Well, I accept that, there is a lot more poverty and obviously single motherhood and everything like that, which obviously makes it very difficult for people growing up in those situations. You can only imagine the burden that is on them, on the children. But unfortunately, it's often because their parents have created those situations and refuse to take responsibility.
Yeah.
So,
and that my whole thing is, you can train a whole generation not to make the same mistakes as their parents, but you can't do that by blaming white people. You have to raise them as tough kids to go out, for their dreams, go after their dreams. No one really understands the American dream more than immigrants do. And I mean skilled immigrants. They understand that they're coming from a place of no opportunity to a place of opportunity. So they take advantage of that. And that's how you see why certain parts of, like, West Africans, for example, in America, they make way more money than regular Black Americans. So it's like there's a different sense of, oh my gosh, my words are getting lost. Yes, there's a different mindset. Yeah, exactly. So the opportunities are there. We just have to tell them to please just take it. We can't carry you, but just do it yourself and you'll make it. So they're missing really that mindset.
Exactly. Or like the danger of the quotas, like if someone said to me, you can get this job, way more than that guy over there just because you're a woman. It doesn't matter if he's smarter than you. I would probably not work as hard. If someone told me like the smartest person, the hardest working, the most determined person is getting that job, I would work way harder for it.
Exactly.
So it's
and be proud of it as well.
Exactly. And then know that, oh my gosh, I got this on my own merit, not because my sex is female. I mean, how
exactly.
That just, it wouldn't even sit well with me. I'd be upset about it. Oh, it was handed to me because I'm a female, which is completely out of my control. you know? So, I mean, we'd have, you know, better workers in that sense too, because they would know that it was fair and it was through their own merit. Yeah, for sure. I know you mentioned one of your videos that your parents didn't allow you to date until college. So were you resentful towards this rule, or do you think it's good advice? Maybe you didn't agree with it then, but you do now, or what do you think?
I think college was ridiculous, but high school would have been better. I hated them so much for that. But it was mainly because of where I grew up. I grew up in the Jane and Finch area. It's kind of like the hood of Toronto. And my curfew was 4 p.m. every day, and my school was done at 3:30. I can't date. If I want to make a friend, my parents have to have a sit-down meeting with that person's parents. So they were very, very, very strict on me until I got to university. And then I realized, okay, they just didn't want me to follow the same path that a lot of the other kids were following. And a lot of my friends from there are, you know, either pregnant. 98, 99% of them are either pregnant, in jail, dropped out of school, no job. So it's like when I look back and I look at the different parenting styles, it's like, aha, I hated my parents at that time, but like, look where I am now. I'll do the same to my kids, but grade 12, not college.
That's so interesting. Have you ever heard of the RK selection theory?
No.
It's a really amazing theory, but for anyone who is aware of that theory, like that is a prime example of K-selected parenting, high investment parenting, which definitely results in better outcomes for children. And it's very unfortunate that the left, they push for R-selected parenting, where it's all like, oh, just kind of outsource your parenting, just put your kids in daycare, just, you know, let the government do the parenting kind of thing. And then you end up with all these unfortunately, you know, practically mentally ill in the way that they have attachment issues. They can't have proper relationships with people. They, you know, go around committing crime and taking drugs and things because they just don't have that same emotional bond that is available to people whose parents actually give them attention and care about them, you know.
And the ones that don't have any parent care look up to gang members. Those are the parents of the community. Those are the ones that they look up to. And it's unfortunate. I blame the parents, but it's like it's time to make a change. It's time to realize that your kids are going to make the exact same decisions that you do. And they keep saying that, like, I want you to be better than me. No, they're going to look up to you and do exactly what you're doing unless you change your ways. And they really just don't get that. It's tough love. It works. It really does.
Yeah, parents have to be role models.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they're not there, you know, to be that role model or to infuse their beliefs into you, someone else is going to be there to do it. And it could be a teacher who's like a Looney Tune, some crazy person, you never know. So it's, if you're not there for your kid, someone else is going to be, and you just don't know if they're going to turn out that way. But yeah, I agree that discipline is the best way. I had a really strict childhood as well, and I think it was really good for me.
And that was one of my issues with Black Lives Matter was I wish they created more community centers for kids, after school programs for kids who don't have their dads, who don't have a stable home that they can go to and see other people to look up to. They should be having Black Yale graduates, you know, Black Harvard graduates going to these neighborhoods and saying, come on, you can do it, you can do it. But no, they're going out in streets, you know, fighting for thugs. And it's ridiculous to me because it hits close to home because I'm seeing my people hurting, and I'm seeing so-called Black Lives Matter saying they want to come help them, but they're not. Yes, they have done some good things in the States, yes, but I think they're focusing on non-issues. It's a Band-Aid solution.
Yeah, I mean, because human beings, like, whether you want to admit it or not, we're social creatures, and so we're drawn towards a kind of a community. So if we don't have a community, like, yeah, it makes sense that, like, they join a gang or something like that, because that's like a family unit in itself. Obviously not a good influence, but it is. So yeah, that's like what the importance of family, the importance of community, all these things. They're really good for us. We need them. So yeah, those are great ideas.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, wow, I never even thought about this before, but it's like that emotional connection that someone gets from being part of a gang, you know, it's because they don't get it anywhere else.
Exactly.
You know?
It's because their dads are in jails. They don't have that father figure. So Tyrone down the street is their father figure. And it's like, that is what we should be focusing on. But then that comes down to blaming the individual person. That is not white people. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is a neighborhood that you need to fix. In order to fix that, you need to go to individual people and help these people, not necessarily label, racist white people. I've said counterproductive so many times, but it's like, that's their main issues. They focus on non-issues.
Yeah, and I mean, like, even the worst person, it's like none of us are innately bad and start out that way, but a lot of people will become it in order to feel accepted. And again, that like unit to be accepted by it, and they'll move in the direction of it. So it's kind of like they say, you are who your friends are. So it's kind of like you are the community also that you choose to be in. And I think that's also another thing about cities. Like, they're so disconnected. Everyone's kind of independent and on their own, like big cities. So like, it's hard to find that there too. But yeah, communities are so important. It's just you see less and less of them nowadays.
And in your experience, from what I can see, from what I can remember, it's about 90% of African Americans in the US vote for Democrats.
Yes.
Why do you think that might be? I mean, obviously there are multiple reasons, but do you have any idea or insight about that?
I think because the Democrats are playing them. They're playing their victim strings. They're saying, don't worry, you've been hurt by us, or you've been hurt by white people, you've been hurt by this white conspiracy, you've been hurt by someone, and we're going to help you fix it. We're going to give you welfare. We're going to give you free money. Free money plays well with the public. But they still they still don't understand that it's not helping them. It's just keeping them where they are. It's keeping them poor. But telling them that you've been hurt and I want to help you is a way to get to them. And it's unfortunate that so many, 90%, so many of them still vote that way. I think one thing that Trump said that was amazing was he said, the Black community has been hurt very badly by Democrats and I want to help them. And it's just like, they see that and they don't even understand that, oh my gosh, he wants to help me. They see that, oh no, he's a white supremacist Trump supporter. It's like, no, he's telling you that the reason why you're so poor is because you're basically getting free money so you can stay poor. And especially in Canada, my parents are conservative and I grew up, I guess Canadian conservative and American Republican are different things, but I think they should change their minds. They should start realizing that it's not helping them. It's really 90%. I'm sorry, that number is insane.
I know. I couldn't believe it when I saw that figure, but I think it even went to 95 when Obama was elected. So for obvious reasons, really, because I guess they suppose that Obama can empathize with their situation or something. But yeah. And yeah, kind of alongside that, I was going to ask, like, how many African Americans in the US, Canada generally, from your experience, do you think genuinely believe the narrative, like this kind of narrative that's sold to them of the reason you're not getting ahead is because white people just, aren't employing you, or like we've got this secret club going on and you're not in it, kind of thing?
How many of them?
Yeah, what percentage would you say actually go along with that narrative?
I think... How do I explain this? I think a lot of African Americans or African American immigrants, I don't think have that kind of mentality because they grew up kind of seeing everyone else as Black and everyone else kind of hard work pays off. I think it might have been about 60%, and just recently it rose up because like Black Lives Matter now have so much influence and they're telling these kids, this is the reason why you're poor. I mean, they want an answer. They want a reason as to why they are in the situation that they're in. And then when they say it's because of white people, it's like, aha, now I understand. So there's no point for me to even try to move forward because I'm just going to be stopped by a white man. Whereas when I immigrated here when I was 9 years old, actually, and I didn't even know, I didn't see race. It was the first time seeing a lot of white people in one place, but I didn't even think of it as race. I never thought these people are here to stop me. I never, ever thought that. So I think that really did help me be where I am today because I didn't see them as competition. I just saw it as, oh, we're all in this together. We're all going to work hard and do something for ourselves. So I think the victim mentality is increasingly It's crazy. There's way too many Black Americans thinking they can't make it in life because of white people, and it's keeping them down. And I wish I can shake them out of it. I wish my voice can be heard more so they can listen to me. But I just get classified as a coon, and then they just don't listen anymore.
Where are your parents from again? Sorry.
Nigeria.
Oh, so you are second generation
Yes.
Nigerian, right?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. So it's like you have your parents at least had an external perspective, so they didn't get caught up in all of that, and they passed that on to you in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't underestimate the power of your voice, because I mean, you only have a few videos out, but you already have over 25,000 subscribers, I noticed, and I think that even, you know, there probably are a lot of Black people watching, even if they won't admit it, that they do see your point, and I think that you will have a massive effect, and that your channel is going to be enormous. So definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm interested to know what you think, you know, because like the mainstream media always says crap all the time that they want us to believe, but it's not really the truth. So like what do you actually think on a general level are the race relations, what they're like, you know, in Canada and in the US? Like, are they as bad as the mainstream media is saying? And if so, do you think they're going to get worse? Or like, how can we actually be productive in a way to fix this? Because it really does no good. It's just... It makes us focus on it, and then we could be fixing all these other problems in our country or, you know, in Canada, but we're focusing on this when we, you know, could hopefully easily solve it, I think.
Well, I think you shouldn't fix something that isn't broke. I don't think race relations was really that extreme or remotely close to being extreme until the mainstream media started talking about it. It's such a weird vibe when I go to school, when I go to restaurants, the way people talk to me on the train, random white women smiling at me. You know, it's a weird feeling. It almost feels like everyone is looking at me as a victim. And it's like, no, I don't want to be. I want you to look at me as an equal. I think they're making it way worse. They're making it sound way worse than it is. And it's counterproductive. It's crazy. And I don't know. It's getting worse. That's one thing I would say. It's getting worse. But I don't think it is what they say it is. I think people are getting forced to believe it. They're being told that white people hate you. They're being told that, you know, white people should hate Mexicans, Mexicans should hate white people. They're being told by CNN and MSNBC that there's a white lash or there's a backlash or whatever. And that fuels their brains and it tells them, okay, then maybe it's true. And I've even seen old friends from high school get into these arguments with people saying things like white people can't be Black people can't be racist, and it's like this isn't what it used to be before. We all just got along just fine. It's just recently we're realizing, oh, this is a Black man and this is a white man. On the subway trains, I played a game with a friend to see how many white straight men I would see on a poster, and it was 0. It was all women and Black and colored people, and it's just like it's almost like we're forcing it so hard. It wasn't broken before. No one really cared. We all did our own thing.
I know, I do agree with you, because that's what I thought. I was just wondering your perspective, because I always thought that we really didn't have that bad of race relations. It wasn't organic. This has kind of been fomented as an agenda. They're trying to divide us, and yeah, it's really divisive right now because they're making it that way. But yeah, I absolutely, you know, just like kind of with Trump, not that many people disagree, but there's a lot of like paid protesters, you know, causing violence, and there's Antifa out there. Like they're painting a picture, they're creating a narrative that they want us to see, but that's not necessarily reality. It's just perception of reality.
And the thing is, when people ask me, do you think there's still racism? Then why don't you care? There's still racism, then why aren't you, you know, against it? And there's always going to be racism. There's always going to be sexism. There's always going to be homophobia. There's always going to be every phobia there is. You can't change that. You can't change every single person. But the vast majority of people, if you go up to them and say, do you think all Black people should be killed? No, they will say no. And it's just, they're focusing on the 1 or 2 racist individuals. I saw someone racist down the street who called me the N-word. Therefore, all white people are racist. And it's like, no, but that's always going to happen. People are going to be mean to you. That's just the way life works. And they just don't understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we just, like all these average people, you know, who are quite kind, you know, they're all being like turned against each other when we need to like turn our eye towards who's doing this. Why is the mainstream media doing this? Why are they lying about this? I think we need to ask questions, yes, but we need to ask them to the right people, and we need to put the blame on the right people, because there are people to blame for this racial divide in our country, and it would be obviously the mainstream media is probably being incentivized, but by the establishment. But we need to just ask why the mainstream media is doing this and to shut them down.
It's also like as you're saying, like it's like the clickbait culture. It's like if CNN or whichever news outlet publishes something that looks like white policeman killed black man or something, or worse, like a black woman or children or whatever. And I say worse just because that's the emotional reaction that we experience. They get a ton of traffic, and they make more money from ad companies.
Yeah.
So it is the clickbait culture as well. People just love outrage.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Even not from a racial perspective, people just love outrage. And it's almost like they want to find Nazis somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like they really want that to be the case because then they can be the savior,
Yeah,
so,
they want this move. And in one of my videos, I noticed that a lot of these like Black Lives Matter supporters or Black Lives Matter group leaders, they always have their fist in the air and their pictures are always in black and white. It's like they want this to be a historical movement so badly. And I hope in 30 years, we don't look back and say Black Lives Matter is written in the history books. I hope not. But they really want this to be a historical movement. They really want the millennials, this generation, to be a strong generation that fought for something, that's fighting for something. And it's just like, no, oh my gosh, calm down. We're doing good. What are you doing? You're just sending us back. And they don't understand that we're progressing. They don't want to accept that we have progressed. It's just another movement they want to create when it's just really not necessary.
Yeah, we call it LARPing. Live action role playing. Oh dear. And actually, go back to the BLM thing. It's actually George Soros.
Yeah, the fund stump. Yeah.
And he obviously was backing Hillary as well, and he backs Media Matters, which basically controls CNN and everything, and all the mainstream media. It's really not a good look when you find out about this stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it's not organic. What are your thoughts on like Islamic immigration to like Canada right now or the U.S.? Like, do you think that what Trump did was truly unprecedented? Like kind of shutting off immigration from the certain Muslim countries, or what's your opinion on the state of that? Should we just let all of them in? Like, should there be vetting? Should we shut it off?
Closed borders is obviously preferable.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the way he executed it, I don't agree with. But I understand why he did that. He said because if he were to announce it, then a bunch of the bad people would have came in at that time. I understand that. It did look a little messy, but ultimately he's doing it for the good of the country. He's doing it for Americans. He cares about America. He cares about those people. And in Canada, it's a little weird because one, it doesn't really affect them. And two, there's a motion that has been passed that that doesn't allow you to talk about Islam, which is ridiculous. And it's a slippery slope. It's a weird place we're getting to right now. And I don't know. I agree with the fact that he wants closed borders, but I don't know. It's just weird. And I'm being careful. And this is what is annoying, is that I'm being careful with the way I say this because I'm scared that later someone's going to call me out on it. And it's like, we shouldn't be that scared. If I have an issue with Islam, it's the same thing I have an issue with Christianity, with Islam, with different religions. I should be able to say, I don't like this, I like this. It's an idea system. It's not racism. They're not a race. It's an ideology. So the outrage is ridiculous. Even one of my professors during a lecture, I recorded the lecture, he was talking about how racist and homophobic and Islamophobic Trump is for banning those countries. And I said, oh, didn't Obama do the same thing? Oh, wasn't it Obama's list? And he was just like, he was kind of confused. And I think the outrage is ridiculous, and the mainstream media is feeding on it by just calling it a Muslim ban. It's a Muslim ban. All Muslims are banned. They hate Muslims. And all these, it's lost. The whole narrative is lost, and they don't really understand what's going on. And they don't understand that it's temporary. They think it's a long-term ban. That's another thing that's ridiculous. The outrage is ridiculous. I understand why he did it. I don't agree with the way he did it. because Americans are filled with whiny people and he could have been nicer. But no, honestly, I don't really see it as a big deal.
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't even a ban.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
were just calling it a ban. The thing is, honestly, I absolutely appreciate Trump's tough love take, his approach, just like getting it done, just being severe, because that's what we need. We have too many whiny people that like, and I don't want him to go around having to cater to everyone's feelings. It's about saving and preserving our country. We have so many illegals in our country right now. Our country is not in the state to accept all these immigrants, especially like we cannot deny that Islamic terrorism exists. It does. And it's been happening. Like Germany, Sweden is a mess. It is a disaster, and the mainstream media was trying to cover that up. But then, you know, like we're seeing all that's going on. There's a on that note, there's a Swedish reporter who has been reporting. His name's Peter Sweden, all about what's going on in Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
Twitter locked him out of his account for like a week because he was reporting the truth, and they didn't want anyone to know that there's like rapes, crime, everything. Like their culture is very different from ours, like coming from the Middle East.
Very different.
And ISIS has even said, we are going to come in with the, you know, the Muslims who aren't violent. We're going to come in with them, you know, secretly and
ISIS uses Muslims in general as a cover, and they, you know, like you said, they've stated it, so it's literally a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
So we have to say no. You just have
You're
to.
right. Sorry, you're right about the whole tough love thing, because the other alternative, I was just thinking, the other alternative was to be nicer. And I'm like, wait, that's not going to play out right. You have to make these tough decisions. You have to annoy a couple people in order for you to reach an ultimate good. And unfortunately, a lot of people were upset by it, but that's just the way the world works. And people ask me if they blocked immigration from Africa because of Ebola, how would you feel? Or if they said like certain people from Nigeria are wrong, how would you feel? And I thought about it and I was like, I wouldn't really care. If they're trying to block bad people, then I'll be like, I live in Canada. Yes, block it. You know what I mean? So it's just, I understand the tough love. It needs to happen. It did. Sucks.
Yeah, it's just quarantining. You know, it's not. When you put someone in quarantine in a hospital, you're not saying, you know, we hate you. You're saying, sorry, but we can't have you coming here and infecting everyone else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just a practical measure.
And they lied about the amount of people that were even stopped the day it happened. They said thousands and thousands of people were stopped midair. They had to stop. And they lied about that. And that increased the outrage, and that just created more hatred towards Trump. And I think it sucks. The media is just painting him as this horrible person. And I'm trying hard not to catch myself kind of going that direction, because I always give him the benefit of the doubt, because I'm like, okay, come on. Like the Planned Parenthood thing, I thought he banned it in all of America. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. And then you realize, okay, maybe he's doing certain things for the good of the country. And then you realize maybe he's not such a bad man. And people don't really go that far. They just see a headline, a clickbait headline, and say, oh, I hate him, he sucks, and the Muslim ban. I mean, can you imagine just waking up and seeing Trump has banned all Muslims? Like,
yeah, exactly. And that is why these people are so hysterical, because they're actually believing these mainstream media headlines.
I think literally Hitler is running the country. Can you imagine? Yeah. Literally Hitler is running.
I mean, the amount of psychological damage that the mainstream media has done to the general public is ridiculous. Yeah. And actually, before we end, I just quickly wanted to ask you, do you visit Nigeria often, or do you have family there? And is there anything you'd like to tell us about it? Because I've never been there and I'm interested to know.
Oh, yeah. I have not visited since I came to Canada, unfortunately. But I'm definitely going to visit with my kids, because I would love to go back to my old neighborhood and kind of look around. I have family there right now. They like it. My parents want to retire in Nigeria. They came here to kind of work and then get, the money and then retire in Nigeria. So where I lived, my neighborhood was really, really cool. It was a fun time for me. I would love to go back, and I'm really interested in like the whole dynamics and aspects of Nigeria. Not the politics. The politics is ridiculous. They are going downhill with that. But certain areas are good. So I lived in Ibadan, which is like a more neutral area. And then there's like the Muslim area, the Christian area, and I lived more in the Christian area. So it's probably why I had a great time in Nigeria. Other people might have different stories. So.
Yeah, wasn't there that like a couple of years ago, was it in Nigeria where they that terror group kidnapped like 200
Yeah,
kids
Boko
or something.
Haram kidnapped 200 girls or so. Yeah, exactly. I know, but I did
That
not
was
live in that
crazy.
area. I know, it's ridiculous. I don't get it. Boko Haram. Are they still active? I'm not really too sure about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I imagine. I haven't
Yeah.
heard that they've
It's true.
gone.
Yeah, it's really scary. Okay, so we've come to the end of our show, but it's been so great to have you, Josephine. Where's the best place for people to find you, more about you and your work?
My YouTube channel, which is my name is Josephine, and my Twitter, which is name is Josephine.
All right, great. Yeah,
And yeah,
I'll link everything below so people can find it really easy in the description.
amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like we're talking to like the next Lauren Southern.
Yeah, it's
That's a
gonna be great.
compliment.
It's gonna be great. It's so great seeing because I could count them on my fingers how many like young women were on YouTube, speaking out against all just taking a right wing stance, and you don't have to be like a Trump supporter or whatever, but just someone who's like talking sense, a woman on YouTube. So it's really nice to see more of that. It's really encouraging.
Yeah. No, I think it's even better that you're an independent thinker. Like you don't necessarily have to go with one candidate.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to say to everyone listening, thank you for listening to Virtual for West. If you'd like to support the running of the show, we both accept donations via our websites. Links are in the description, and you can find Brittany's award-winning book, Hatred Day, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Audible.
And remember to check out Tara's other podcast, The Reality Call Show, for in-depth interviews with scientists, philosophers, and thought leaders. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much once again, Josephine.
Thank you for having me.